Two.
Welcome to Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast. I am your host, Dave West, codename Phantom Troublemaker.
And I'm your co-host, Noel Wood, codename Crapshoot.
And I'm your Cobra intern that has to apply a lot of burn cream to a certain Cobra. Yeah, it's gross. Codename Legion Cub.
So it's a scrap iron. You're helping him out with those facial scars.
It's why I bought him the mask, the helmet.
Buddy, cover that up.
Yeah, no one wants to see that.
Do us all a favor. You can't go full face. Destro's already got that.
Yeah.
Destro and Copperhead have already got the full face going as far as singular names.
It's goopy.
Thanks everybody for joining us here tonight. We have got a lot to cover. I did put the sound off post up on the Audible Interlude podcast Instagram account. I do not know if we're going to make it to sound off. So if we don't have time, we'll cover those on the next live stream, which is March 26th. More on that in a minute. What else have we got? We're here live on the Needless Things YouTube channel, where you can find toy reviews each and every week. Today, I put up my review of the Super 7 Thunder Tank, which is massive and crazy, and check that review out. Give it a like. And then Wednesday, my review of the Super 7 Ultimate Bat goes up, not the Comic-Con version, the regular Wave 1 version that I ordered from Entertainment Earth, because I'm still waiting for my Wave 1 from I thought there was smoke going. I thought Kristian was on fire.
We're totally on fire tonight
from Super 7. So I since I wanted to have two bats anyway, because I want to be able to display one with all the battle damage and electricity and stuff, I went ahead and ordered one so I could review it. So there you go, two big reviews this week. We have shirts that go on sale all the time. Go to that Audible Interlude podcast account on Instagram, go to the pinned stories, and there are links to our t-shirts there. New shirts coming for the next live stream. That's right, I've been saying coming soon for a while now. We will have them for the next live stream. The audio version of this episode will be available this Friday. Our next audio episode, where we're going to do a little bit of we're going to get our feet wet into Sigma 6, something that we haven't talked about a whole lot on the show. We're devoting most of the episode, as it turns out, to Sigma 6. So check that out. That'll be next Friday. And then our next live stream on March 26th is going to be Joe Mania, brother. So get yourself ready. In anticipation of WrestleMania, we are going to have a Joe Mania themed episode. Lots of cool stuff planned for that. So watch us on the socials to find out more. That's Audible Interlude Podcast on Instagram and G.I. Joe Audible on Twitter. You guys, I feel like we have a little bit of news to cover this time. Is that right?
I think there's just a tiny bit.
All right. Well,
did something happen?
Yeah, something happened. Okay, well, this is insane. Let me get the screen share kicking here, because we definitely need, well, I need my notes and I need the screen share. Let me see if I can make these two things live in the same world together. All right. Share screen.
One day we'll figure out this technology.
Dude, it's ridiculous. It should be so much easier than it is. Well, I wish I could just upload a file to, there we go. I think, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So what we are looking at are a couple of Operation Recall well, not even prototypes. These are like tooling samples, I guess. Looking really good. But the object of interest is in front of these two figures. What we're looking at, apparently, Robert Carson Metaxas has invented a new O-ring thing. Did you guys see this?
Not until you sent it in the notes.
Yeah, I saw the picture and I wasn't sure exactly what that part was, but then I saw you mention about the new O-ring. I was like, okay.
So I can't quite figure this thing out. I mean, obviously it's sort of mimicking the O-ring construction, but there's no
no
can't
hook.
be flexible, right? Well, it's all one piece. So rather than an O-ring connected to the hook and the leg bar or whatever it's called, it's all one piece so that the O at the top goes into the, the torso peg, but I guess it doesn't need the flexibility of the old construction.
No,
right?
if there's enough friction to hold the legs on around those two posts, I don't think it necessarily needs it.
Well,
We got some folks in here. Captain Speedy, howdy everybody. What is up, Captain Speedy? Thor Golden Cub, you are the wind beneath our wings. Thank you so much for getting in that super chat every time. You are awesome. Yorktown Joe, I'm the Cobra intern that turned the clocks back instead of forward.
You are worse than me.
That's solid. Craig Dukas, happy Monday. Good to see you. Alan Grant, I need to reply to your comment on the Thunder Tank because you bring up a good point, but that is not for the Joe podcast, but I'm glad you're here anyway. Okay. From Carson Metaxas, which I still say is the best James Bond villain name ever. I'm calling it the O-ring, the O: ring. And yes, I'm currently testing different materials and think we may really be onto something. Stay tuned to youtube.com/3djoes for a video on this topic, likely tomorrow. Now, I have not gotten to that video, and this was posted like a week ago. I've been a little busy. Printing them with Formlabs durable resin now, which approximates polyethylene like strength and stiffness. This is crazy. I don't think any of us expected a brand new figure component out of any of these Kickstarters.
Yeah, so and if it's something that winds up working better than what Hasbro's been using, who knows? They might he needs to get a patent on that thing.
Yeah,
right. They could definitely license it from him. And wouldn't it be a great idea for him to just sell these separately? Could these potentially replace, because I mean, with this being a 3D printed item, you could print it in different sizes. So could this potentially separate the construction in your vintage Joes and be a safer option than the O-ring itself that is constantly putting tension on that ABS plastic?
Yeah. And then those, I mean, I've got plastic or the metal hooks that have broken on so many of my
that happened to me. Yeah, that happened to me for the first time just recently. I think it might have been heavy metal.
Yeah, the hooks or the leg posts. I've had both those break.
Oh wow. See, I haven't had that happen yet, but I'm sure it will at some point because the metal, just like the O-rings, I mean, obviously it's more durable, but over time that stuff will break too. So this was kind of mind-blowing, honestly. I would label this as actually the biggest news to come out since our last episode, just because it's so unprecedented. All right, so awesome there. I just can't wait to see these things in person. Kristian, did you have a little bit more information than the rest of us about the Power Comics Super Joe announcement?
So ish. All right. So the announcement didn't end up being what most of the people online thought it was going to end up being. So they are
that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. I love how Joe fandom give them a tease and we'll go 1,000 miles in the completely wrong direction. Anyway, so they are doing a comic series based on the Super Joe team from the 1970s, which, to the best of my recollection, is probably the least paid attention to version of any collectible Joes. Just because the way that Super Joes were constructed, they're very known for just disintegrating and falling apart. It is really rare to be able to find complete ones. And even when you do, like you open that package and then they just fall apart. But sort of what caught my eye during it. So there is a company, let me pull up my notes here.
Are we talking about White Elephant Toys?
Yeah, that's making yes, that is making new Super Joe toys. Plaid Stallions already has a review of them up on their website. And they're actually going to have exclusives at Joe Lanta.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and they say you will not have to be present at the convention in order to get them. So more news on that as we get closer to Joe Lanta. But White Rabbit has taken
White Elephant.
Oh, sorry, White Elephant has taken the concept of the Super Joes, updated it, right, using today's technology, and made all of their body parts compatible with the original Super Joes. So what I have seen coming out of the reviews is, you know, if you have any of the originals, and let's say that the arm has just completely disintegrated, you can take these apart and use them to fix your old ones, or you can take the heads off of your old ones and put them on these new bodies. Great, fantastic. But I got more involved in, wait a minute, how are they able to put out a Super Joe comic called Super Joe and Hasbro not be involved in any way, shape, or form? Which led down a rabbit hole of Hasbro and trademarks. So I, you know, we've run into this before when Roadblock sort of became Heavy Duty, but now they're two different people.
More on that next week.
Yeah.
Or any character that they lost the trademark to, they would put the first syllable with the word blast, and this happens with both G.I. Joe and Transformers all the time.
I was going to say Transformers gets it really, really bad.
Double Clutch, Lieutenant Falcon, because Falcon became Lieutenant Falcon the next year. Yeah. Like his, they messed up real quick. So yeah, a ton of that.
Yeah, so it's been a trickier subject for me to investigate than normal, because Hasbro, like, let's use Action Force as an example, because Valorverse puts out an Action Force line, and there was G.I. Joe Action Force. Well, Hasbro, at least to what I can find online, Hasbro still renews the trademark for Action Force over in the UK. You know, obviously where the line began, but they let it lapse here in the States.
Did they ever even sell anything under the Action Force name in the US?
Not that I could find. And even when I looked up the Super Joe trademark, and a lot of companies do this, right? Like, you have to think ahead of what your competitors might do. So you want to slap trademarks on every potential thing. You know, it's not just like, oh, I'm getting a trademark to make action figures. You are getting trademarks for action figures. With Super Joe, all the ones I found that had lapsed, which ironically they lapsed in like 1977. So it's been dead for a very long time, but it was like disc shooting toys, inexpensive toys, toothbrushes, character paper, like that sort of specific stuff. But I have yet to be able to find anything that says that Super Joe, like that Hasbro let action figure or you know, for Super Joe trademark lapse. So I'm still digging. Everything I'm finding is more along the lines of like all of the Etheria that would come out. But then again, what are inexpensive toys? Like that is literally what the trademark says. Inexpensive toys. It's not specific. So
I don't think inexpensive toys exist anymore.
and that well, good point.
No, they're what Final Faction. That's it. So Super Joe Final Faction coming soon to a Dollar Tree near you.
Yeah, so look for more updates as I continue digging through all of this, because I'm really curious what Hasbro has let go of, just thinking all this time like, oh, we'll never do anything with that name or that name as it relates to that specific product. Right. And now with the advent of Kickstarters and all these other companies, they're looking for these trademarks that are lapsed.
And certainly in 1977, no toy company was thinking like, well, this line didn't do very well. Maybe we'll resuscitate it 20 years from now. Like nobody was thinking that way. It was like recording over the old Doctor Who episodes. Like nobody cared. Nobody thought it would ever mean anything.
Exactly. But there wasn't anything related to a real American hero that I could find that right now they had let lapse. But I also did not go digging into specific character names. Like they have gone so far as to trademark a real American hero. So,
as well they should. All right. Well, yeah. So we'll have more Hasbro copyright stuff as Kristian digs further and deeper into that morass. All right. Checking in. Who else we got hanging out in here? Yorktown Joe. That looks like the O-ring and T-hook are integrated into a single piece. And yeah, that seems to be the case. Kevin Riddle actually did watch the video. He shows they work as the O-ring and T-hook. He shows how it works, and it can be used with older figures. Aha!
Nice.
Yorktown Joe. I had a Super Joe Commander back in the late 70s. Lots of fun, but disintegrated, as you mentioned. Thor Golden Cub. Legion Cub's background is so good, it needs to be a poster. I agree. Poor Falcon. Worst classified face in Joe history. I cannot make that call yet. I can't make that call until I have him in hand, because I do not trust anybody's photography or videography. I only trust my own eyes.
I don't have him in hand yet either, but I gotta say, all the pictures I keep seeing on Instagram of him, now I cannot look at him without seeing the handsome Squidward face. Yeah, so I'm all about it now.
I can with confidence say it does not appear to be what I would have made Falcon's face look like.
Every time I see it, I want to say Matt Damon.
Well, that review coming sometime on the Needless Things YouTube channel.
Once that ever arrives.
All right, so we've got a little more G.I. Joe news that may or may not be particularly relevant to us here in the US of A. Let's share our screen again and take a look at...
Yes!
So, wow. First of all, this guy, I wish the classified commander had looked like, and I'm not one of the ones who hates the classified Cobra Commander. I like him. I think that looks like something a kind of crazy dictator would wear. However, this is a much better update of the original Cobra Commander look. I think this looks great.
Yeah.
Now, Kristian, this is your this is right up your alley. This is what you're most looking for.
I said when they started this, if we get stuff beyond Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, I am probably all in. And when this got released, take my money.
Only thing is that there are no American retailers who are able to sell this at this point. So you have to get it through like AliExpress or a third party, like Chinese vendor on eBay or something like that.
I don't know if
my Ultraman shelf totally understands and is okay with that.
If Hobby Link Japan ends up carrying these, I don't know if they do Haya Toys or not. But I've gotten a couple of things from them, and their shipping is very reasonable. They're very timely. Mm-hmm. Their prices are good. But here's what's wild about this is the other Haya Toys figures in this scale sell for about $20 on Big Bad, which is yes, it's expensive. However, for an imported high quality collectible toy, it's very reasonable.
That's actually, at this point, when you're looking at even 3 3/4 figures, $20 is actually cheap. Have you seen what a Boss Fight Studio Popeye sells for retail?
Well, and
that's like $30 now.
Everything official is G.I. Joe is $20 or more now in this scale, because both reaction and the O-ring figures
that's
are
true.
That much.
That's true. But yeah, all of the because I've been really tempted by the Judge Dredd stuff, and I'm probably very soon going to pull the trigger on at least one of those. They've got one with the Lawmaster coming out soon. And just to see the quality, just to see in hand what it's like. I haven't bought anything yet, even though I've seen some of these in person and have had the opportunity to just buy them in a store. There just hasn't been anything compelling enough. But looking at this guy, you notice he's got a chromed out faceplate, and the metallic finish on his accessories looks fantastic. On the scepter and on the knife, just really nice. Like, I don't think they quite look vac metal, but they're so shiny they almost might as well be. The colors are beautiful. He's that nice light Cobra Commander blue. I actually like, if you notice, the stripe going down his legs is sculpted. It's not just paint, so it looks like trim. And there is a white stripe in the middle of the two red stripes, but he still has his traditional stirrup pants on. His gear, his belt, if you look, he's got the one belt that is actually the bottom portion of his upper torso. Like, it looks like it's part of the sculpt. And then the lower belt with the triangle belt buckle and the cross piece going up over his shoulder, it's looking a little 25th anniversary to me, the way it sits a little bit too high.
Yeah.
But the detail is fantastic. Everything is painted. That Cobra emblem on his chest is actually sculpt and not just paint. He's got the two little deals on his collar, even the black armband that Cobra is sculpted on there. I mean, this is an amazing Cobra Commander.
Yeah. They posted this, and I think it blows away some of what Figure Arts is doing now, if any of our listeners are familiar with their products.
Well, the big thing here is, to me, his profile is so nice. He is super articulated, but none of his joints look super janky or really messing up like the Cobra Commander profile.
Yeah, no, it looks like they're using the Figma style of articulation. So even like with that double joint of the knee, I bet like when you bend it, it is actually a slightly curved piece that's inside of there, and not just so.
So yeah, this guy looks awesome. Whenever we figure out how to get him into it, well, we're going to have to smuggle Cobra Commander into America. It's almost straight out of a Larry Hama comic. But yeah, this is fantastic. I'm going to have to figure out how to get one of these, if only to review it. I am curious to see how these will scale with the 25th and 50th anniversary stuff. Will they be slightly smaller, slightly larger?
Yeah, 4.1 inches. So
I mean, it seems like it's going to be the same size and proportions, but sometimes once you get stuff like this side by side, I'm so picky, I can't even put the new O-rings next to the vintage O-rings. So like, it'll be interesting to put them side by side, because this looks like it's too nice to go with my 25th anniversary stuff.
I'm hoping that the scale blends in a bit more with the 50th. The 50th figures are slightly bigger than the 25th anniversary figures.
Well, and even the those last Walmart ones that came out.
Yeah.
They're cleaner, their proportions are nicer. So if he scales with those pretty nicely, I'll be happy. All right. Check back in with the chat. We got a lot of folks with us tonight, and I appreciate that. Craig Dukas, anybody remember Sucker Man? I don't want to know who owns the rights to that name anymore. I knew if anybody did, it would be Kristian. What is Sucker Man?
God. Sucker Man was this alien looking plastic figure that basically had suction cups all down his arms and down his body
Oh
and
gosh,
down
that
his
sounds
legs.
horrifying.
And but the head sculpt on him actually was very similar to the alien figure from the Super Joe line. It was like Wacky Wall Walker before Wacky Wall Walker, because he didn't, it was all suction cups. So you threw him to the wall and he just stuck. He didn't.
He didn't actually
slide
fall down. He just
Sucker Man is awesome.
If
I'm gonna
you've
have to
ever
look
seen
that up.
if you've ever seen the original Pee-wee's Playhouse, the live stage show that he did with the great cast. It was like Edie McClurg was on it, and Phil Hartman and a bunch of other people. But he's got a Sucker Man. He goes Sucker Man, and that's the first time I ever remember seeing Sucker Man.
That might be on HBO Max. I know HBO used to play that.
Yeah, that's where I taped it off of HBO and watched it 300 times when I was a kid.
Yeah, at the very least, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. I'll have to find that, because that special is tremendous anyway.
Oh yeah,
it's called the Pee Wee Herman Show.
Yeah, the Pee Wee Herman
Show. Looking it up.
All right, Craig Dukas, Falcon's face is AI art. And I never knew I needed a Hiya Toys figure. I know, right? Alan Grant, you could try Robo. It's an online shop in Singapore. A lot of online shops buy from there, and I'm listening about 3 minutes behind. That's okay, because we're live 40 seconds behind. So what are you going to do? Kevin Riddle, someone I was watching said they emailed Hiya about how to get them, received an email back saying keep an eye out on Diamond, but not sure what that is. Oh, Diamond Direct is who goes to comic shops. Very interesting, because if Diamond could get them, you'd think Big Bad and Entertainment Earth and everybody else could, but
for sure. Well, but they also buy from Diamond, so even if they're not getting it directly from Hiya, they would buy from Diamond.
Well, and Diamond, if they call it a Diamond exclusive, I do believe that's a little bit different than just straight up being distributed in America. So yeah, keep an eye on Previews Magazine, previewsworld.com, I think is the website. And they do have a ton. There've been a ton of Diamond exclusive Hiya releases. So actually, that's a good tip. Thank you, Kevin. Maybe it was Full Force. Yeah, there's no maybe about it. Full Force hits everything. They are the kings of Joe news.
They break everything before I can even see it anywhere else.
When you're able to, they are the CNN of GI Joe news, 24/7. Full Force is on it. All right, moving along, we have, so this is Joe adjacent in the weirdest way I think we've maybe ever really looked at, but we do have to discuss it because it's so odd. The newest wave of Spider-Man Marvel Legends was announced, and I am absolutely baffled by this, because only one of these characters is really, well, maybe two, are really retro style. Tarantula and the Rose are they're from the animated series. They're retro figures. They could be considered, even though I don't think the Rose ever got a Toy Biz release, but anything that was on the cartoon, I think, is up for this sort of blister carded retro release. But the rest of this wave has no business being on retro style blister cards. This is baffling to me, and the reason we're going to talk about it is this how Hasbro is going to kind of sneakily get plastic packaging back, and what could this potentially mean for Joe? Because Emily said that the Walmart retro line is done after whatever the last wave we know about is. Is it Zartan and Storm Shadow? Or no, Zartan and Zartan and Snake Eyes?
No, Snake Eyes was
No, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Zartan, and Crimson Guard are the last four that we're waiting for. So after those, she had said that the line was done, but this was before Hasbro did an about face and said, well, we're still going to use plastic on retro packaging. And my thought has been that they should continue the retro line, but as a fan channel exclusive, like they do with a lot of the Marvel retro stuff. That's what I would like to see, because honestly, that Joe retro line has to continue. There are so many possibilities just from what we have right now. A retro Stalker in slightly brighter camo, very doable. already we want a retro Falcon with a different head because they did tool a different head for Gung Ho, so that's not off the table. There are a lot of possibilities for a Joe retro line, and I hate to see it limited to two figures a year at Walmart, or limited to Walmart at all. When you guys saw this, what did you make of this? What were your thoughts about just regular Marvel Legends being on these blister cards?
Okay, for Marvel Legends, it doesn't bother me a lot. Most of the Marvel Legends, their extra accessories are hands. There's not a lot of, gun style weapons. I know this is an unpopular take, but with the plastic-free packaging figures that I've gotten, mostly because GI Joe is still catching up. So with Transformers and some of the others, I have been thrilled for mainly the reason of the accessories not being warped.
Yes.
Because even a couple of the Joes that I've gotten here recently, I had to give their gun a hot bath because the gun is just bent. So maybe there's a happy compromise there somewhere, but right now, I don't want that for Joe.
Well, right. And I mean, I've said it here. I've said it in my reviews on the Needless Things YouTube channel. I hate those plastic trays. They have been my enemies for decades. But with this, I was really more thinking about the continuation of the retro Joes in a broader, although they're already, we'll get to it. We're in an interesting spot right now with GI Joe with packaging styles, and we'll get to that in just a second here because it's almost time. Noel, did you have any thoughts about like this just being odd?
Well, I mean, honestly, with this, I didn't have much of an opinion. I don't collect any.
Well, yeah,
Legends,
not that you have a personal feeling about Spider-Man's, but
yeah, I mean, but because of that, this didn't really guide my feeling anyway towards GI Joe, but I would love to see them continue to put those out. As I said, fan channel exclusives, putting them on Pulse. That would be fine with me because I mean, honestly, you go months without seeing any of these things in Walmart, and then you walk into a Walmart and there's 50 Destros, and that's just not any way to
right. It doesn't.
Line.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't seem like a good way now. And I'm not saying you cut off Walmart exclusives, which again, we're going to get to in just a minute here. But there's just, I think there are a lot of opportunities here. And I think we're still in a bit of a transitional phase from Hasbro from the past 2 years, plus all the fallout from whatever's happening with the layoffs, whatever's happening with the streamlining, whatever's happening with the rumor of there being an entire retro division. This is a rumor that I've seen that the Indiana Jones retros, the Star Wars retros, and potentially any the Transformers retros. I just saw the movie painted Starscream.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that at Walmart the other day. Mm-hmm. That there might be a whole other team that's just responsible for these retro releases. Now, this has not been verified anywhere, but I saw it in a couple of different places that probably got all their information from the same one person. But it's an interesting thought because with these retro releases, all that's involved is initially scanning and retooling older figures, but then you have to move on to adapting new characters, as we've seen with the Indiana Jones line, where they're putting out characters that were never released in that retro style. So it really is a whole new market segment, or rather, Hasbro is expanding that market segment beyond just what they've been doing with Star Wars. It'll be interesting to follow this over the next couple of years because look, most toy buyers are us. So what we want is in a weird way going to be specifically catered to over the next few years. I think we'll be following along and keeping everybody updated. But in the meantime, I do believe it's time to talk about the March 8th Hasbro G.I. Joe live stream. I will say before we get too deep into this, I talk a lot about not speculating, about not having expectations, about not saying, hey, what do you think they're going to reveal? What do you think they're going to talk about? Because that's a good way to set yourself up for disappointment. I really like to go into these things just with an open mind and ready to take in whatever they decide to present to us. Because I went into this one really, really believing we were going to get some O-ring news, and we didn't. And because what we did see is incredible. But because I personally was looking forward to O-ring news, it cast a bit of a pall over the incredible stuff that we saw. And I had to, like, once it was over, I had to kind of parse that down and be like, all right, look, we saw awesome stuff for classified. Yes, I'm disappointed we didn't get O-ring news, but don't let that bring down the cool stuff that we did see. So that's kind of where my philosophy of not making expectations or anything like that comes from, is I in general like to just sit back and see what we get. And here's what we got. Name reveals. You guys. Quick Kick, which I am dying to see because we've talked about this a few times on the show. Noel, what do you think they have to do with a classified Quick Kick? Like, what are the points that they have to hit, and what are the things that they maybe can update a little bit?
So I think that he's got a very unique look to him. He's just got, he's shirtless. He's got the sash with the throwing stars, and he's got the black gi. You got to have all that there, of course. Obviously, didn't come with any like really unique accessories. He came with nunchucks and swords, and he had a backpack. So you throw all that in there. Maybe you give him a couple of extra ninja weapons, maybe a sai, or maybe you have the throwing stars are removable.
I would
love
like if they could figure out a way to make the throwing stars removable.
You got a little, like, if you got the vinyl sash and maybe you have a little slot in there and it's just enough to kind of wedge those plastic throwing stars in there. I think that'd be a really cool accessory, especially if he can hold them well in his hand.
Well, they already made, no, I would, well, see, that would be great. Give him an alternate hand that's like that, because that's been done. Or if the throwing stars need to be part of the part of the sash, do like they did with the Snake Eyes 00 figure and give him a hand with a throwing star sculpted in.
Yeah.
Like that, I think would be a great extra feature. But yeah, they need the backpack, the sword, the nunchucks. They have to have that. I'm very curious to see if they do him. I mean, look, I feel like he's got to be barefoot.
Yeah. He's always barefoot. That's the whole.
Yeah.
That's Quick Kick's whole thing.
I wonder, because if you do a classified translation of the original look of Quick Kick, it's gonna be a little weird. But I don't know how you update that look. Like, he's going to look retro without even getting a retro release.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a way. Can they make his pajama pants like tactical pajama pants somehow? Like give him the like armored looking seams and everything, or something. They're like, or maybe rather than having the wide leg pants, he's got something that tapers a little bit more, but he's still barefoot. I feel like you do have to update his look a little bit, but you have to stay true. Kristian, I see the wheels turning.
Well, again, going back to they give us a little tease, and then sometimes they like to pull the rug out of our feet. Now, I don't think they will do this, but how would you guys react if when they reveal him, he is more along the lines of the Pursuit of Cobra? where he wasn't bare chested. He had the full black gi outfit.
Maybe the solution is to include some sort of tactical vest that's removable. So in the package, maybe he has some kind of either a gi top or a cool like ninja vest. I don't know what ninja vest means. You guys are welcome to tell us in the comments what you think of ninja vest. But you can take it off if you want that bare chested look. He's going to be a very interesting one for them to translate. Let me check in real quick because we've got some good comments in here. Kevin Riddle, I'm showing how boring of a life I live. I watched another show and an inside source was saying windowless packaging had been a failure and they're bringing back the window in some form. Look, who knows where these rumors come from, but I wouldn't doubt it a bit because if you walk into any Walmart or Target right now, tons of windowless Marvel Legends boxes are just sitting there seemingly. And look, this may be the internet bias because as I said, I am in favor of at least eliminating that plastic tray. But the most vocal people on the internet, which usually are the most negative people, hate the windowless packaging.
So here's something that I observed. You just mentioned that Starscream, that retro Starscream, which I pre-ordered. I got it in the mail a few weeks ago. It came all sorts of damage because it came from Walmart. It just came in a little stupid, like
in a bag.
So I mean, it's fine because I was going to open it anyway. I haven't yet opened it, but walked into a Walmart and I saw like a whole row of those on the shelf, and it didn't even catch my eye. And I think part of the problem is the artwork is great on a lot of this packaging, but the artwork's not selling me the toy because I don't see what the toy looks like on the front of the package. And I think that having a photograph of the toy should be a prerequisite for a lot of these packages.
Yeah, I agree because I saw that Starscream and my first thought was, but what does it look like? You have to pick the box up and turn it over to see the actual figure, and that's a failure.
Yeah, like those D&D figures, that artwork looks amazing, but I walk by and I look at them and I just keep on walking because I'm not seeing what the figure looks like on the package.
Well, the retro figure, they designed differently because it doesn't the retro figure have the picture of the figure on the front?
Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but there was
it's designed. Well, the movie D&D figures, I think
they're just artwork.
Right.
Yeah.
But the retro ones are designed like a blister card where they actually have a cardboard box rather than a blister. And it's a picture
and I did
of the
see
figure.
those,
Yes.
and those are
and
are very
that
cool.
shows you the figure.
Right. And I think they should do more stuff like that. Like I would like to see, if you're going to put carded G.I. Joe figures up, do something like that where you have the card and you have the the box that attaches to it that looks like a figure inside of a plastic bubble. I mean, that's a good compromise.
Let's see. Craig Dukas, unpopular opinion, but why are they trying this packaging with this super wonky lineup? If they don't sell well, is that going to be used against plastic option? And I don't think that is an unpopular opinion because part of the allure of the retro packaging to me is the product inside falls under the retro banner. And 4 of those, what was it? 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 of those 7 releases are not retro in any way. And that actually makes it off-putting to me. Like Hasbro is trying to sneak one by me. Like, hey, look at this cool retro packaging, but this is some thing that you're not even familiar with, which granted, purple and green Spider-Man should be right up my alley. But the fact that I feel like Hasbro's trying to put one over on me with this retro packaging is off-putting. I don't like it. So no, it's not an unpopular opinion. I don't agree with them doing this. Kevin Riddle, throwing star hands. Yes. Craig Dukas, quick kick and khakis. No. WOTAG. Wotage. Give quick kick some sandals. This is not a bad idea. And sandals are totally doable because WWE, Mattel, has released 2 Matt Riddle figures with removable sandals. It can be done.
Mm-hmm.
And they're great. Tiger Force quick kick. Is that a thing?
It could be.
Sure, why not? Tiger Force everything. I don't even care.
Python Patrol bat wasn't a thing until
Right.
classified, so why not?
Let's do it. Give Quick Kick some orange and green camo pants. I'm all over it. Thor Golden Cub, Quick Kick was barefoot and shirtless even in the winter episodes and the Pyramid of Darkness episode.
There's
Absolutely.
a meme. There's a meme where they show like Storm Shadow. It's like, you're not as cool as Storm Shadow who's fighting in the snow without sleeves. I was like, yeah, but Quick Kick has no shoes on.
Yeah.
Right,
or
he
a
doesn't even have
shirt.
shoes. Wotaj, Python Force Quick Kick. Oh my gosh. My head explode here. The Pig and a Poke Effect. DJ 5000. Any love for Super 7 Ultimates? DJ 5000. Check out the Needless Things YouTube channel on Wednesday, and you will see all the love for Super 7 Ultimates. Just real quick, since you brought it up, yes, tons and tons and tons of love for Super 7 Ultimates. Oh, they're not behind me anymore. I gave them a feature shelf across the room. Yes, I love Super 7 Ultimates. Cannot wait to get my hands. I unfortunately ordered them from Super 7, so mine will ship this week, maybe. But yes, I'm very excited about those. Those may be the ultimate, the titular ultimate G.I. Joe figures for me. I even love the reaction stuff. All right. We didn't even get to the second name reveal. You guys, Big Boa. Kristian, where was he on your list?
Further down. I'm surprised we're getting him this early. However, I think that this sort of proves the urban legends of the toy companies may not always listen to the chatter online, but they are looking at what people are doing online and what sells, because people have been selling 3D printed custom kits and Big Boa since Classified started.
Yeah.
So super excited for him. He's got to have hands, though. I don't want boxing gloves that slip over. We need interchangeable hands.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask. Do you want boxing gloves that go over the hands, or do you just straight up want interchangeable?
No, because in order to do that, it's just going to be wonky, out of scale.
But what if, the boxing gloves are huge. What if they make the boxing gloves out of like a really nice soft material and they kind of feel boxing glovey?
Yeah, because I mean, like, I would even say that the original figure, the boxing gloves were out of scale, too small than what actual boxing gloves looked like. Because boxing gloves are very, very large,
dude.
Yes, but around your fist they are. When I do my little Mac cosplay, when you tighten the end of the glove here, it's not going to be sticking out here.
You're right. That part of it is very
That's
snug.
where I don't want it to look like Amigo oven mitt.
Yeah. Okay, what if? So this is how it works. He comes with regular hands. The boxing gloves, the peg would need to be up inside of the wrist part of the glove, so it wouldn't be visible.
Could be soft goods too.
What if they make? You lost me on that one, pal. Sorry. What if they make it? What if he includes a little chain with cuffs on it, so you can put the boxing gloves in these little cuffs and hang them on his belt? That
would be cool. I also want spikes on the gloves, by the way. Probably not getting them because they'll go more G1, but I want spikes on the gloves.
Give me 2 sets of gloves, 1 regular boxing gloves, and then 1 like Arena of Sport Mad Max death gloves.
Yeah,
that I'm down with.
Because I do think, I mean, as much as we love the whatever you call that he came with originally,
the little speed bag.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
He needs, I feel like he needs
some, you know what?
Offensive.
I don't need that, but he has to come with it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
He has to.
Or you upgrade it and you actually, I mean, I could see them doing him as a deluxe figure because he might be a little bigger than a normal figure anyway. And instead of just having the one punching bag on a stand, you actually have like a heavy bag that's suspended from some sort of framework.
Make a, so there was.
What if they did his punching bag? Like, remember how Rocky was supposed to have the bow staff with the 2 boxing gloves.
Yes. The
Oh
pugil
yeah,
stick.
Yeah, do that, but with the bags on the end.
I still
So-
think this means that we need to get a Rocky in this line.
Oh yeah,
Agreed.
I 100% want a Rocky. I want him to be the right height. I want him to be like 5'7" or whatever, like Tunnel Rat size, which we'll get to how big Tunnel Rat should be in just a second here. Yeah, I want that Rocky Balboa so bad, but I want him in classified and in O-ring.
Yeah.
I want both. All right. We got to check back in. Jeff Butler, for his empty boot ceremony after he died, Quick Kick did have sandals there along with the other KIA Joe boots. That's right. Yorktown Joe, fighting barefoot in the snow, new code name Frostbite. There's already a Frostbite. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can't be done. Interchangeable hands for Boa from DJ 5000. And
Yes.
Jeff Butler, grappling hands ready to wrestle the Sarge, seems like a good option to accompany boxing gloved hands. Yeah,
That's a good point.
you need those.
Yeah.
You need that hand also.
And
So,
not
yeah,
just
this might-
grappling, that is a head grabbing hand.
Yeah.
So he can
Yeah, big
Big
Boa might be a
Boa.
deluxe figure. It would be worth it.
Mhm.
And then finally, name reveals Mutt and Junkyard, which I loved. Tony, I think is his name, Rhode Island native. Straight up just said Junkyard.
Junkyard.
It was awesome. Mutt and Junkyard have been ones I've been asking for since the line started. I cannot wait to see what they do with Junkyard. Honestly, I'm more excited for Junkyard than Mutt. And I love Mutt. He was a critical character in Sunbow. Mutt and Junkyard were one of my favorite original Joe sets. But Hasbro with these animals, whew, that Timber is one of the greatest action figures of all time. So to see a Rottweiler in that style, because here's the challenge: Timber has longer fur to cover up some of the points of articulation. With Junkyard, they don't have the luxury of blending the joints into that longer fur because Rottweilers, they have that smooth, sleek fur. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. But I'm stoked. This is a great announcement. A must-have edition.
Yeah, and we'll see what kind of price point they put on that one because I feel like they're
Well,
not going to.
No.
It's going to be a deluxe. It's going to be a $35 one.
Well,
No, it's
it'll
gonna
be
be
figure
45.
and pet. Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
$44.99 because it'll be the new. And we'll talk about these new pricing categories in a little bit here. But yeah, it'll be figure and pet $44.99. I'm pretty sure. But what that might mean is there's a little extra in there.
Yeah, there's going to have to be something. Yeah, because I don't think that you're getting an extra $20 out of a dog. I mean, as much as that. I'm looking forward to Junkyard. I don't know if they're going to get $20 worth of sculpt out of Junkyard.
Right. So I think there's a good chance we're going to get some cool extra stuff in this one. I don't know if it'll be blast effects. I don't know if it'll be, because you got to think Mutt's pistol, probably removable suppressor.
He's going to have his nightstick. He's going to have
the nightstick, the mask, the
helmet.
Probably a rifle. Like they'll probably add in some stuff that wasn't with the original figure set. You'll have the leash, which who knows how they'll end up constructing that. Probably similar to Crocmasters, but
yeah, I'm thinking maybe things like flashlights or something like that to kind of go with his MP, his security role.
Yeah, sure. And there's they're starting to lean a little bit more towards some Sunbow influence. So it's possible we could see some like kind of Sunbow inspired accessories as well. I can't tell you off the top of my head what those might be, but I think they'll make this set worthwhile for sure. All right, let's see. Thor Golden Cub. If they give Quick Kick sandals, he needs interchangeable feet so he can still be barefoot. Well, I just say removable sandals is the way to go. Wotaj, turn Big Boa into a bat so his interchangeable hands have an easy explanation. So he literally just goes like ka-choo and has armored boxing gloves pop out. Mikey collects. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mikey collects. Craig Dukas, Flock Junkyard. Oh, now there's a San Diego comp. No, look, I don't hate this. I don't hate it, but here's what you do. San Diego Comic-Con exclusive flocked animals set.
Okay.
Holly, Freedom, Junkyard, Timber, all flocked in a box set together. Make it happen. Wotej, Craig Dukas, it worked for Mattel with Big Jim's Tiger as Panther. Craig Dukas, ugh, no. Oh, no, the flocking may not be a popular idea.
The only flock we need is seagulls.
Mikey collects over 20 watching, but only 7 likes. Hit that like button. Hit that like button, everybody. Like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends. Yes, smash that like button. All right. We got to get back to let's get back on topic here. It's time to share that screen again because we have got a ton of stuff. And I'll tell you right now, we are probably not going to be making it to sound off. So we will share those on March 26th on Joe Media, because we're already, it looks like we might be in for a 2-hour live stream tonight because that's just how we roll sometimes. All right, you guys, first render reveal, Tunnel Rat. Noel, first impressions of this?
I mean, I don't know if it could get better. He's got everything the original figure had, and they actually, they made an effort to mention that. He's got his backpack with the flashlights that go into it. They added the night vision goggles. Color wise, he's perfect. He's got the the camo and everything. He does still look a little bit like Larry Hama. So maybe not exactly, but just enough to be tribute. Yeah, I mean, he's what I wanted. I didn't want a lot of variation on a figure like this, and they delivered.
Well, and he is updated though. He's got the knee pads. He's got this is what I want Classified to be, is taking most of its inspiration from the original line, but bringing it up to 6-inch aesthetics, style, articulation, and throwing in little things like the knee pads, like the night vision goggles. Obviously, the hyper detailed sculpting. This just looks fantastic. The camo on his forearms and on his face. He actually has camo on his entire face, as opposed to Dusty, who just did his cheeks up for some reason. Looks fantastic. Kristian?
Yeah, absolutely knocked it out of the park. The only question I had when they did the reveal was, how is he going to scale with the other figures? And they have said he is going to be shorter.
Yes. The sculptor, Fred Exxon, confirmed that Tunnel Rat is short, which initially I was looking at this, and when you look at, as we go through these renders, you'll see that most of the figures they show, their shoulder is at the G.I. Joe Classified series, like the logo, whereas Tunnel Rat's head doesn't even make it up that far, but it's a render, so that may not mean anything. But yeah, the sculptor, Fred Exxon, did confirm on Instagram that he is shorter than the rest of the figures. It's funny because in the live stream, they said that the revolver doesn't make any sense. But you know what? It's G.I. Joe. It doesn't have to. And also, apparently, the actual tunnel guys from Vietnam used revolvers because you're not expecting, because the part of the reason you use an automatic weapon is to have more ammunition. But when you're down in those tunnels like that, you're not expecting to run into a lot of enemies. And the revolver is simpler. So in those musty, wet underground conditions, the revolver is less likely to misfire or have issues. I mean, the funny thing about Tunnel Rat has always been that he comes with that gigantic machine gun
and that gigantic backpack.
Right.
You're not getting through a lot of tunnels with that thing on.
And he's got the I like that they varied up that camo. It's asymmetrical. They didn't just throw a Tampa, like a same thing on both sides, even on his face. It looks different. It just looks fantastic. And those, let's check out those awesome 90s Image Comics thigh pouches. How great are those? And he's also got that I guess demolitions bag or whatever it is slung across him. He looks fantastic. Let's hope. And again, I don't have Falcon in hand yet, so I don't know if his neckerchief is as bad as people have been saying, or if it can be adjusted a little bit. Let's hope Tunnel Rats doesn't end up with that like weird look that I've seen on the Falcon figures online. All right. Next up, you guys know I was waiting for this one. Oh, look at that Firefly. That is what I want. And look, I liked the blackout designs for the most part. I liked Classified as being able to present its own thing a lot of times, but I'm okay with the Classified Firefly, the Cobra Island one, as a variation of Firefly, but I need a more traditional Firefly, and this is it. The backpack looks fantastic. His little car that looks very. I realize it is not the same tooling as the Ghostbusters car that came out a couple of years ago, but it's the same idea. He's got the little remote control for it. The submachine gun that disassembles looks really nice with the magazine and the suppressor. He's got the knife in all black, which I'm okay with because he's like a covert night ops guy and all black knives are a thing. He's got the pistol. He's got the night vision goggles. He just looks great. I actually really like that they designed him with the sweater under the coveralls rather than just giving him the sweater look, because they have that sweater in their tooling library, but I prefer this to be a one-piece coveralls type deal. I like that, and that's where that Classified updating comes in, because overall we have the squint test Firefly, but he is updated. He is not an upsized version of the original figure. The bandoliers look great. I would maybe like some grenades that he could hold, but other than that, I mean, he just looks fantastic.
Unless you guys, we don't know, those grenades may peg on, and he may be able to hold one in his hand.
Well, usually with the renders, though, they have anything that's a separate piece.
Usually, but I'm pretty sure Tunnel Rat's bag has got to be a separate piece.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And the render
that's a good point.
Scrap Iron had his helmet on.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Okay. So yeah, it's possible that those will come out very much like the Super 7 Ultimate Ace Duck. Egg grenades were removable. But yeah, this is absolutely the Firefly that I wanted. I'm glad it's a mainline release and not, and that Cobra Island Firefly is not the only one we were getting.
I held off on buying the old Firefly for a long time because I wasn't crazy about it. I only basically got it just to complete all my Cobra face character figures, and now I kind of wish I'd waited because it's okay, but this is 100 times better.
Well, here's my plan. I am potentially going to get an additional Cobra officer, perhaps from Hasbro Pulse's warehouse sale that's going on right now, and put Firefly's bomb gear on a Cobra officer body and make like a saboteur Cobra agent.
There you go.
I'm kind of thinking about doing that, but I as I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm not super into kit bashes and stuff, but that because I'm not going to keep that other Firefly on my shelf once I have this one, but I do like some of the concepts of that Firefly, so I might do that.
The best part of this reveal was listening to Emily and Lenny try to avoid and then eventually just giving in to saying the word bomb a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, you're not going to avoid this. It's G.I. Joe.
DJ 5000, Tunnel Rat is fire. Yes, he is. I hope Tunnel Rat's Wotaj. I hope Tunnel Rat's camouflage smudges were just grease paint. Jeff Butler, his pistol is a nice design. It harkens to when he pulled his gun to shoot the training module in the animated movie. Yes, absolutely. Ritz Murphy, what's up, fellas? What's up, Ritz? Glad you were able to make it tonight. DJ 5000, no Predator head for Firefly. No Predator head. Am I missing a reference there? I don't know. DJ 5000, you're going to have to elaborate on that. Firefly is triple fire. Yes, he is. The more Fireflies, the better. Yeah, give us a crazy neon green. Was it 91 or 92?
The Ninja Firefly.
Yeah. Well, no. Just the updated 91 or 92 Firefly. Give us that one too. I'll buy them all. More
green and the
Fireflies, the
gray.
better. Are Fireflies bandoliers like a soft PVC? Maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are, because I mean that's.
Yeah.
I don't. They're not part of the sculpt of the torso. They're definitely a separate piece, like some of the other vests and tactical pieces that have been on the figures. Rich Murphy, no old school TNT sticks this time. Oh yeah, good point. That's funny. No throw the TNT with the timer deal.
Yeah, I think I'll probably just wind up putting all the gear together and just see how much I can pack onto this Firefly on my display once I get this one.
Predator alien head from the Pursuit of Cobra line. Did Firefly come with that? I don't remember that. We'll have to look that up. All right. So yeah, the camouflage looks awesome. You'll notice it's on all parts of the figure. They clearly heard what we said about Dusty. Let's see. Oh, proximity mines a la GoldenEye. I love those.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And that is it. Time to move on to our next render reveal. And that is Lowlight. Noel, you want to tell us a little bit about this Lowlight?
He's a good looking figure. And once again, they did mention the goggles do come off, but they do have him on the render here. So that does again.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
There are pieces that will come off.
Now, how are those goggles going to go over that hat though?
I don't know, unless
the hat comes off as well,
or it's a slightly stretchy material.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's got to be.
But yeah, they gave him a full loadout here with the gun that breaks down and fits into the case, and everything can be stowed on him, which is wonderful because I love GI Joes that I don't have to put parts in a bag and store away and never see again. So yeah, he's a great update of the original figure. They even kept the little splotch of red right here you had to keep.
Yes.
I love the fact that his collar is it's laid down on one side, but it's kind of sticking up on the other one.
He's got the
little bit of asymmetry there.
However, with that collar, this figure better have the neck hinge so he can lay prone for sniping positions.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of my biggest disappointments with the classified line so far is the fact that they took that neck hinge out of some of the figures once they got further into the line. That is not okay, because that was one of the little things that set this line apart. And for somebody like this, a sniper, and also for another one we're going to be talking about coming up, you have to be able to get that head movement all the way up, and the double barbell does not allow for it.
Yeah.
The suit is awesome with all the zippers and all the details. I am glad that they made this more like coveralls and they didn't put like an extra vest on him like they did with the Cobra infantry. I would have been, because the Pursuit of Cobra lowlight, or whatever the 25th style lowlight, they did a couple of them, because they did a Marauders version and they did, I think, a 50th anniversary version.
Mm-hmm.
The vest is a separate piece and it's so bulky, it doesn't look good. This is the way I wanted him to be done. I don't want that extra bulky torso piece unless it's absolutely necessary. I prefer it to be part of the body. So this works for me. The case, I hope that case is a relatively soft plastic, because otherwise, over time, because you can see it just folds. There's not a hinge, which they should have made it a hinge, but they didn't. Over time, you're going to get stress marks on this. You're going to get wear. This needs to be a softer. As a matter of fact, if you look, there are panels where the rifle and the parts actually go in. It looks like those are separately tooled pieces. So in an ideal world, the panels inside would be hard plastic and the outer case would be like a really soft plastic. And I'm hoping that's what they've done. If you look at the catches on there, the catches are part of the hard plastic. So when you fold this thing closed, the catches on the right side are going to clip into the catches on the left side. So the outer shell isn't even going to be part of the closure. So my hope is that's a really soft plastic, so we don't have to worry about a harder plastic wearing and tearing over time. His smaller, whatever that smaller submachine gun he comes with is really cool. I don't know what that thing is. If anybody wants to tell us in the comments what the heck that thing is, go ahead.
Well, and I'm thinking it probably the stock and like the silencer and everything from the other gun may peg onto that one, so you may actually be able to have interchangeable parts on those guns.
Oh yeah, that would be very, very cool.
Like the stock, the
Craig
Dukas.
Craig Dukas in the super chat. Here's to help cover the overtime, guys. Much appreciated. We have never gotten overtime pay here on the show before, so thank you very much, Craig. That is awesome. Kevin Riddle, this whole Joe live stream was great. I enjoyed every reveal. Everything was fantastic. DJ 5000, low light goggles removable. Kevin Riddle answered yes, and we answered yes as well. And I know we're a little off time wise. So yeah, low light, fantastic. Very happy with this guy. Must have. Everything we're talking about is a must have. Well, okay. I'm curious to see how you guys feel about Shadow Tracker. Now, Kristian, to me, this seems like it might be right up your alley, but maybe not. What do you think of this guy?
Well,
can I tell you?
I like the design.
I live for your thoughtful side.
I love the design. He's probably going to be displayed with the skull head, because that is just freaky AF.
Yeah.
But I don't have any attachment to the character.
Did you not get this figure back in the day?
I did not.
You're modern era guy.
I know. I skipped over him, and it's not like he's never abundant on eBay. And even now, whenever I see him, I don't dislike him. I'm just sort of indifferent.
Well, but he's new, so there's no nostalgia for him whatsoever. Even though new means 15 years old or whatever the heck he is. I don't even know. I've got him back here and I love him, but I see what you're saying. Where like you see this guy even back when the 25th style figure came out, or Pursuit of Cobra, whatever the heck he was part of. Even then, it was like, well, what is this? Why am I buying this? Well, you're buying it because it's an awesome toy.
It's a great toy. Again, I don't have nostalgia for it, so same
Which
thing
I
with
get.
I like the Kamakura look great too, but it's not the reason why I'm collecting classified. So this is one that I can live without.
Like I said, I loved that original Shadow Tracker figure. This one, I will say, to me, isn't quite as cool, because the dreads on the other one were just big and thick and just had a better presentation.
I like that they made these gray, because they were mentioning it kind of made him look like he was a little bit more grizzled and experienced.
Well, and if they were just straight jet black, it would look really weird, like it was almost like a wig or something. What's funny to me is this guy has no face.
Yeah,
that was the other thing I was curious about, because the original one did, right?
So I wonder if there's just like you pull the mask off and it's just like Westworld style, like a flat face that you stick a peg into or something. Like, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, because it looks like the three masks, like it's not like the other two go on top of the one that's the default here.
Well,
like, may switch them out.
It may just friction in, like, because it looks like maybe the dreadlocks come out a little bit over there, so you could kind of like Zartan's mask on the original figure,
right?
Like so he may have a face under there. Have a face,
but we just haven't seen it.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be interesting to find out. His loadout's great. This big hatchet looks awesome. His knife is wicked. the compound bow with I guess that's a laser sight that attaches to it, maybe. And then if you look at his quiver, the arrow will fit into the quiver, and then the bow will attach to the quiver. You can see there are clips on there to hold it in place. The hatchet has a slot on the side of the quiver, and then the knife goes in his leg. So, except for the masks, all of his gear can be stowed on the figure. I think it would have been really cool if they'd made it so he could hang his extra masks on his belt.
Or have a backpack that was a little bit larger to accommodate
to stow them in. Yeah, that would be cool. But at the same time, like they did a nice job of all of his like functional active gear will stow on the figure. The skirt piece, I do wonder how much that's going to hinder his articulation. And if you
notice a lot.
Yeah, well, it depends on how soft it is.
Right.
It could be a very soft plastic that doesn't get in the way a whole lot, or it can kind of, because it's attached to the belt, so maybe it can kind of rotate around. Because that one Boba Fett they did that has a similar skirt situation, you can kind of move them around, and it is a softer plastic, so you can still get some good poses out of that one. And then if you'll notice, he's got flames on his boots, just like Zartan and Zarana have. So that was an interesting thing that I caught, although these are neon green. So I will be very interested to get this in hand to really see what they've done with it. Because again, these renders, they can be they're almost like sizzle reels. Like they give you an idea of what they're going for, but until you've got the final product, you really don't know. All right, who else we got here? Oh man, everybody's talking, chatting. Will R, best wave yet, could be. Craig Dukas, credit where credit is due. This is one of the rare wave reveals where I didn't have any complaints of paint schemes. Even with rock and roll, the paint looks better than the rendered to me. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. DJ 5000 original Shadow Tracker was great. Would be cool if the Shadow Tracker had tribal sleeve tattoos. Yeah, that would be cool. Although he seems to have enough paint applications to where maybe that would have been a little too much extra, but it would have been cool. Will they shoot themselves in the foot and make him a deluxe? No, I don't think he's a deluxe. What do you guys think?
Not with what they're showing right here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But Kamakura didn't have that much more. He had one extra head?
Well, he had an extra head, and he also had a loadout of accessories that was beyond. Now, granted, they were old accessories that you didn't care about at all, but he did come with accessories above and beyond what regular releases were coming with. Let's see here. If Torpedo is not deluxe, he shouldn't be. Torpedo is not deluxe. He's regular price point. Is the not movable like Storm Shadows? On Shadow Tracker, I don't think. No, it doesn't look like it is. It looks like that's all one piece. Thor Golden Cub hopping into the super chat with a little more overtime pay. Thank you very much. I think this guy looks like if Firefly and Skeletor had a baby. All right. Well, let's move into the proper reveals.
Woohoo!
Kristian, you did a little research for us here. We're going to start with the packaging and then move into the figure itself. So, first of all, this is a new box style that I think is absolutely phenomenal. What do you guys think of this new packaging design?
I really like it. I love the way they're doing the artwork on it. I think that there's going to be some people who get a little upset because they're going to look a little bit. People who are putting them in their bookshelves and not actually displaying the figures are going to get upset because the numbers are going to look a little different. But that's not why I collect, so I couldn't care less.
And I actually was thinking this looks better for the people that are doing, MIB collecting. Like if that was my style, I would love this more than the artwork that we were getting.
Yeah, I think they have found the magic combination for plastic-free packaging here. You have the figure featured, but it's in this beautiful, like, piece of artwork with references that we are going to get into. Don't you worry.
Yep.
A nice
showing
art
the
shot.
accessories.
Yes, the accessories get their own band, although I do wish they'd put a color behind them. That white is just dull to me.
Yeah.
And then the nice actual artwork window on there. This just looks fantastic. It's very easy to identify the character at the bottom. Cobra Copperhead. It feels like where that should be, rather than putting it like going down the side or some weird place.
And I noticed that Cobra Copperhead. Is that a trademark thing? Did they just lose?
Yeah, I think
Copperhead by itself.
I think it has to be,
I'll have to
because
look.
as we move through this wave, we'll see it says Cobra, G.I. Joe, and then the character's name.
Mhm.
And apparently the character's name is Cobra Copperhead. So yes, I think we've run into another trademark situation here, which is fine. Who cares?
Right.
Call him Ted if you want to.
Yes.
So
Ted
Kristian,
Copperhead. Yes.
tell us what's going on in this image here.
Okay, so I need to give a shout out to Plastic Battles on Twitter. That is at Plastic Battles. They actually very quickly, to be honest, faster than I would, saw the packaging and was like, hey, these scenes that the figures are in look familiar. So most of the packaging is Easter eggs to G.I. Joe episodes. So for Copperhead, that building that is behind him is actually from the Sunbow episode Jungle Trap. And on their Twitter, they show a screenshot of where the water moccasin has pulled up on the water next to the ruins there. So
I just think that's fantastic. I love it. It's such a nice touch, because for those of us who are the longtime fans who may not be able to, totally put a name on that, but you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, that's a thing. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's catering to me right there. But then you also have the great shot of the figure in front of it, which is more important than I realized. All right, so speaking of the figure, let's go ahead and take a look at the figure. Copperhead looks awesome. That the way that they've done the lower portion of his mask with the breather going across the front, but you also have the grills, you can actually see, and look, you guys, I just picked what I thought was the most representative picture. There are tons of pictures of these. You guys can review them all online. But you can actually see the mesh in the grills in his mask.
There's a little bit of movie Bane going on there.
A little bit. I could imagine Copperhead sounding like, I live the swamps. Which, by the way, if you have not watched the Harley Quinn series on HBO
oh my
Max,
gosh, it's
one of the greatest things ever. And Bane in that show is the greatest character ever brought to animation. His web gear looks great. It looks like it fits absolutely perfectly. I love that he's got like the tank top with the silver logo. He's got the way that they've done his like underpants situation. I don't know how to describe that, but he's got like the black trunks on with the belt, and like it is the craziness of the original design, but brought into the real world.
And they mentioned his Ultimate Warrior armbands are removable.
Yes, but that, they mentioned that as a feature, but that's really more of a cost thing.
An annoyance sometimes.
It's well, all the Joe stuff like this has been pretty good so far.
True.
It's not like Cyclops where all the yellow bands are just falling off. So I'm not worried about that, but it literally is. So it's not, hey, that's cool. It's so we can reuse those arms.
Yeah. Which we got a couple of shirtless characters coming up soon. So
yes. Although I got to think Big Boa is probably more likely to have Sergeant Slaughter parts than Copperhead parts. So yeah, I mean, he just looks awesome, and I think I went straight to Bazooka.
That face sculpt, even so, he's obviously not coming with the water moccasin. as just a soldier out on the field for Cobra, if you had him in front of you and a Cobra trooper, officer, Viper, I would try to take on the trooper, the Viper, the officer, because he looks like he will gut you like a fish.
Yeah, I mean, he just looks mean as heck. Now, my question is this. Obviously, the original Joes, there were a lot of parts that were kind of just done in action figure style. Do you think he should have should there be a shield over his eyes, like a goggle type situation? I think it's odd that that's open. And I don't care. However, I do wonder if the intent was for this to be a full helmet on the original figure.
I never imagined that he had goggles over that.
Really?
I always imagined that he had open eyes.
Okay. I just feel like he's in the water moccasin. Yeah, he's got the windshield, but it goes to like here. It's not going to be super effective. I just feel like
but I feel like if he had a glass cover,
they're just covered in water spray all the time. Yeah. So yeah, you just got to. He's that tough. That water just shoots directly into his eyeballs, and he does not care. All right. Moving on and into the weird anomaly of this wave. So Bazooka, number 62, clearly meant to be released earlier and was not, because he has the older style. Well, it's weird to say older style of packaging when we've just moved into the plastic-free packaging, but he was clearly meant to be out earlier because his packaging does not match the rest of this wave.
Right.
Not much to talk about here. It's the, the wild art style. I dig it. It looks cool. But looking at the Copperhead we just looked at, and then immediately followed by this, the Copperhead, in my opinion, the design is clearly superior.
And clearly lost a trademark again with this one too.
Right. David L. Bazooka Katzenbogen.
That'll sell 1 million copies of something.
Nobody is putting Katzenbogen on an action figure package unless they absolutely have to. So let's move on to the figure. Even though we've already got Tiger Force Bazooka, there are definitely some things worth pointing out about this standard color variant or original color variant, whatever, of Bazooka. I love the fact that they actually have the deco on his rockets. I think that's a really nice touch. What do you guys think of the weathering on his jersey?
It's another one of those, I need to see stuff like that in person, which is funny to say since it's windowless packaging. I don't think it's terrible in the pictures that they showed, but
I like it. I like it on the Tiger Force one. I like it on this one because, the jerseys like that, because he's wearing a jersey for sentimental reasons, right? So this jersey has been through some stuff. There's no reason it should have pristine printing on it. Like, I feel like this stuff would be worn, because think about, when you were in high school or middle school or whatever, the jock guys wearing their jerseys they'd had for years and years and years. This is what they looked like. Like, I don't think he would have a fresh off the rack jersey. I like the distressed printing on it. I think it works. I like it. It tells a story.
Yeah, I like that they didn't just have 4 identical rockets. Putting a little bit of character on the 2 was nice. Although I'm thinking somebody did a lot of work to paint up a rocket that's just going to blow up on a Cobra tank.
Right. Well, he's bored, sitting in the back of the APC, waiting for action. And he's just sitting there like, I'm going to put a face on this one. And Alpine's like, what are you doing? That's just going to blow up. And he's like, leave me alone, Alpine. You're mean to me. Yeah, I'm excited to get this one. As I said before, I have all of my sort of special missions type, Tiger Force, Python Patrol, all that. the Walmart retros. Those are on a separate shelf. So this bazooka goes on the regular Joe shelf with the other regular Joes. So I'm fine with having both of them. And I think you guys both passed on the Tiger Force bazooka,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're
I've
waiting for
passed
this
on
one.
all the Tiger Force stuff thus far.
Because you don't like fun.
No,
all right.
I just have to draw a line somewhere.
I know, believe me, I understand. And then let's take a look here at who's doing a little peekaboo around the back of this tree, but a Python Patrol Crimson Guard. Speaking of Easter eggs, look at that. So now, this is it. We've talked about it being leaked before, but now, done deal. I mean, this is happening. We are going to see this figure seemingly sooner than later, but nothing about it yet other than this picture that is an official Hasbro image. All right. Torpedo. Kristian, what is our Easter egg on this one?
Yeah, so right behind him, we have some tube worms from the Worms of Death.
Yeah, this is we've been talking about these tube worms basically since Super 7 launched the reaction line. This is a great call out. Now, granted, they were never above the surface, but I don't care. He's on the deck of this submarine, looks awesome. I really like that the art is him with the breathing gear on. They didn't feel compelled to show that portrait. Looks great. The accessories, again, highlighted up here on the top right. Just a great looking package. I'm very happy with this new packaging design. And then the figure itself. Let's take a look at the Ricky Starks portrait.
He looks less Ricky Starks in the real pictures than he did in the render, but still.
Yeah. But still recognizable.
They made mention of how realistic his face sculpt was, though, in the live stream.
So this is it's funny. Somebody mentioned in the chat, like, if it's not a deluxe figure, it almost could be, but it's not. Just tons of stuff. What's funny to me is his name had never jumped out as much to me before as it does now. Edward Torpedo Leialoha, after artist Steve Leialoha, who worked on pretty much everything at Marvel. Like, if you own 80s Marvel comics, Steve Leialoha's name is on there. And what's funny about that is you look at that name and you're like, well, that's just the name you'd make up for a Hawaiian dude. Lei Aloha. But that's literally the guy's name that works at Marvel Comics. Like, it's a fantastic tribute.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also picked up this picture because this looks like a panel straight out of a comic book.
Yeah.
I love this picture so much. Lenny pointed out that the backpack is actually softer plastic. It's contoured to fit onto his back rather than just sort of hanging like some of the other backpacks do. So I really appreciate that they did that, because I feel like on a Navy SEAL guy like this, it's important that all of his gear really does conform to him in a way that maybe land guys don't need quite as badly. The flippers are also a softer plastic. I love the way that they've added the red into this figure. How do you guys feel about that? Is it too much? Is it just right?
I think it's just right.
Yeah. It's a nice, it's more muted red. I mean, the old figure had some orange, like on the backpack in a couple spots. So it's not unheard of to put a little color pop in there. But yeah, I think the red's a nice touch.
I love this. If you notice this display on his right wrist, just a nice little piece of tech, a nice upgrade. And he looks ready for land action in a way that the original figure just never did. The way that they've done his feet, he looks as good without his scuba gear as he does with it. And that's a pretty impressive accomplishment.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate the fact that the fins, if you look, they slide onto his feet and attach on the back. Like there's a little piece that goes over the heel, so they don't just peg onto his feet. Like they really have designed these to work like real swim fins.
Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic. Any more thoughts about this guy?
He's awesome.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. He's definitely lives up to the expectations.
Moving on, Kristian. This one's all yours. Take it away.
Well, I want to point out, so on his package, you've got the bicycle from the "Don't Steal Stuff That Isn't Yours"
Yes.
PSA. So you've got the figure, you've got the Rocket's red glare going, well, white and yellow glare going off behind him. His artwork is that perfect moment when he walks into Lady J's room after she called him in, but she's still in there with Flint. Priceless.
I just say it looks like someone stole his Twinkie. He's just like, what?
Like
he's just
this
incredulous.
open mouth, like Rob Liefeld wishes he could draw a yelling face like that.
The degree of fury on his face, I really would like to speak to the artist to know where they're coming from with this portrait, with this look. Yeah, once again, packaging is absolutely fantastic. And then the figure,
Chef's
tell us about it.
Yeah, so I mean, he's like straight up G1 shipwreck with a few modifications. So we've got the rope going across his chest that Polly can peg into, and we'll get to that in a second. He's got his anchor weapon, he's got his pistol. They purposefully drew hair on his chest because it's Shipwreck. Shipwreck is the sex god of G.I. Joe. So they also made his Navy hat removable and gave him a separate hairpiece. I'm glad they did it. I still, when I hear Lee's reasoning, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing that bothers me is that if his Dixie cap's removable, I wish we had a Dixie cup with no hair attached to it. Because I'd like for him to be able to hold it in his hand, and you're not going to be able to do that because he's going to have a mullet hanging off of it.
Right. But he's got the Navy, not quite bell bottoms, but still flared out jeans, the boots.
And they're weathered. I mean, we could see that in the digital render, but when you saw the actual pictures, they did a really, really good job of weathering them. And also the texture of them around the boots is really nice.
That was one of the things that absolutely caught my eye, because it's not just like the straight cut across the bottom.
Yeah.
There's actual, folds into it where it's piled up.
Yeah, they're contoured like jeans actually sitting on a foot and not like just an action figure pants. And the boots themselves look great too. They look like they're kind of like almost like deck boots. Like
they're absolutely work boots.
Yeah. They look great.
I'm still sad that we don't get a flying option for Polly.
I agree.
But Polly looks great. I was a tiny bit... Okay, wait, let me back up. In order for Polly to peg into the rope and on his wrist, they gave Polly one peg leg to be sort of pirate-ish. I think that's a cute idea. I do not dislike it, okay? I do think the reasoning that they gave about, well, what are we going to do? Put pegs on the bottom of Polly's feet? Well, that's what you did with Spirit. So I don't know.
Right.
That when they said that, I was just kind of like, ooh, that rubs me a tiny bit the wrong way. Just say we gave Polly a peg leg.
Well, and here's the thing is that this Polly is just a slug.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
There's
without
no articulation.
with it not interacting with, if it's not interacting with shipwreck, there's nothing to do with it. So there's no reason for it to not have pegs under its feet.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But the sculpting, even, I mean, when you look, like, the little feathers
yeah,
on the
yeah. I
chest.
mean, it looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
My gripe. Well, I've got two things that I wish were a little different on this figure, and I think it looks fantastic. I'm buying it. I'm not. This is just observations that I've made. I kind of wish they had given him the original style of grappling hook.
Yeah, with
Because
the weird like maple leaf shape or whatever that was.
right, because this one hanging from his leg like this, I mean, he's going to impale himself on this thing. It's not very practical. And
But legit, neither was. I mean, I get that in the G1 ones it was flat, but it was when I started building my shipwreck costume, the style that I found like that, I never saw it where it was two pieces. It was always two flat pieces that then opened up into an anchor piece. So
yeah.
I feel like no matter what, he's stabbing himself in the leg.
And then he's got, I wish that they had made the wrist piece that Polly plugs into a separate piece, because now he's just got a hole in his wrist forever.
Yeah.
And I don't love that. But whatever, not a big deal, because that's probably where I'm going to put Polly, because I don't think I'm going to have this rope on my shipwreck. Polly's probably going to go on the wrist anyway. I do like the customized chevrons.
Yeah.
That they added the nautical theme to, because I feel like that's kind of a Joe thing. Because obviously Joe does not have the uniform regulations of the regular military. So I do actually kind of like the idea that they would have their own sort of customized insignias like that. So that I think is pretty cool. I like that.
And then they also said like they updated his arm tattoos, not to the extreme as rock and roll, but for a sailor, totally fitting in the theme.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then moving on, Kristian, tell us about this call out.
Okay, so rock and roll is the space shuttle in the background is from the very first episode of the Sunbow series. And the name of that episode is, let me get to it, The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe. Well, as read by Paddington.
And honestly, special space shuttles have featured in many G.I. Joe stories. So this is appropriate regardless of the context. Once again, beautiful packaging, looks great. The image of the figure, I really like the effect that they've put on these, to where it's showing all the articulation and everything of the figure, but it looks like it's part of the painting behind it. Just really brilliant design. And again, copyright reasons, this is Craig Rock and Roll McConnell. Noel, do you want to tell us about the figure?
Well, I mentioned before we went live, I hadn't yet watched the live stream. I was working last week when it aired, and I was like, all right, well, I'll definitely watch it before we actually do this. And I kind of regret that, because it made me spend money that I wasn't originally planning to spend. Because
you haven't spent it yet.
Well, okay, that's true. But I went on
future
last night,
money,
and I ordered this figure. Said I wasn't crazy about the two-tone top BDU.
Right.
I wanted to be in all green, just like the original 13 version. I see where they were going, where they were paying tribute to the V2 figure as well. But I would prefer, and I'd still prefer it to be all green. However, after seeing this figure in the live stream, after seeing the devil horn hands and the skull tattoo on the back of it and all the rest of the tattoos, and just how amazing that face sculpt looks, and that tactical helmet, and just how like imposing he looks, I couldn't turn it down. I had to go buy them. I'm still hoping that we get a retro at some point in time that does look more like the original 013 figure, but I couldn't turn it down after seeing the live stream.
I think the colors look much better on the actual figure than they did in the render.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one I was referring when we were talking about the retro packaging before and how there were still lots of opportunities for retro style Joes. I mean, this rock and roll is an obvious candidate. Yeah, the beard looks fantastic. The one thing that I noticed, and I can't remember if you can see it a little better on this one. Well, one, he's laying prone, does not appear to have the neck hinge, but who knows, because sometimes they don't utilize the articulation as best as they possibly could. And he still looks great in this position.
Mm-hmm.
But in the render, the bullets on his wristband were painted to match the bandoliers. And if you look at this one, they do not appear to be, well, I don't know. See, now they look like they are. I should have saved one of the other images. There were images where it looked like his wristband was just all brown. But in both of these pictures, it looks like they're painted. It looks like they're painted in these. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But either way, I'm probably taking that wristband off.
Yeah, I'm not. That's one thing I'm not crazy about. But again, it's a piece that you can remove.
Yeah, and that's fine. As you can put as many goofy removable pieces on as you want. I think the tattoos look great. I think they've done a really nice job because a lot of times action figure tattoos look like they're just Sharpied on. I think they've given them just enough fade to where they look like tattoos, which is a hard thing to do.
I was very nervous about that aspect when we saw the renders. I was cautiously optimistic. And when I saw the figure, I was, okay, they got it right.
Yeah. And then how do you guys feel about the bipod and the ammo box being green? Do you care? I don't love the bipod in green.
Oh.
It just looks odd to me.
Yeah. I don't know. It gives a little contrast. It doesn't bother me really at all.
Okay.
I can take it or leave it.
And I don't really care, but if I had my druthers, it would just all be black to match the the machine gun. But whatever. All right. An interesting note on all of these, as Emily was saying, we have new price points. Single figures, regular single release figures are $24.99. Deluxe figures are $34.99. Figure and pet price point $44.99, and then 2-pack price point is $54.99. As she was saying this, there was almost a infomercial style message at the bottom of the screen that said current pricing March 2023, subject to change.
Yep.
But fortunately, all of these pre-orders went up at these prices. So, which, by the way, while I'm still not super crazy about $24.99 for the regular release figures, I do feel like the pricing on the deluxe, pet, and 2-pack figures is very fair. So
we'll see what pet entails going forward. What they gave us in this assortment, it's worth it. But as we talked before, if it's just a Rottweiler, I don't know if that's worth an extra $20.
We'll have to see what Mutton Junkyard look like. But first, let's talk about our deluxe figure. I'm going to actually kick off the packaging here real quick. Oh wait, let's check in with our people real quick. We are running super late tonight, but we gotta talk to our chat people. Will R love the pirate gun? Yes, I'm so happy that Shipwreck has the flintlock. Kevin Riddle, the wristband is removable. Don't worry. Craig Dukas, can we get a Destro with his gauntlet grenades now? Well, Super 7's taking care of you on that one. Which I know that does not make up for it. But. So Snow Job, our first official deluxe release, I guess. And that vehicle on the front almost looks like the Warthog a little bit, or like an amalgamation of the Warthog and the Rhino.
Yeah.
Very interesting, though, that they've just thrown a an unprecedented vehicle on the front of this packaging, and then you've got a polar bear up on the top, keeping an eye out on our fella,
and the Aurora Borealis, because it's
Yes.
the North Pole, not the South.
Yes, it is. It is an homage to the episode "Haul Down the Heavens."
Oh, okay.
But that vehicle in that episode, obviously, it was the Snowcat.
Right, and this is.
I almost feel like they can't give you the Snowcat, because
right.
Then people would just be like, "Well, now we have to have a Snowcat."
Yeah.
Well, but they put an Arctic hiss in some of the artwork.
Well, that's true, but we know we're getting a hiss, so they could still do that reasonably.
The very first wave, the art on the back was covered in vehicles.
That's true.
All right, so Snow Job. I love that his suit is like bulky. It's not form-fitting, like it looks thick. It looks like winter gear. I think they did a really nice job with the torso piece. And then the trousers, the sleeves, everything has like a thickness to it to give him a more wintry look. I think it's really nice. They did something similar with the 50th anniversary or Pursuit of Cobra, whatever. That whole range had some really good winter weather gear where they were, the original Snow Job kind of looks like he's just wearing pajamas out in the snow, or like a tracksuit, like sweatpants, like almost. And the modern line, that is one thing I felt like they got really, really right, was the winter gear looked thick. And they've recreated that here. How do you guys feel about the colors on him? The black and the brown and the light gray.
I like it. Because it breaks up just that solid white.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, ideally a guy out in the snow, you want to have as much white on as possible, but we're also trying to sell a toy here, and that's not very toyetic to just have an all white figure. So, yeah, I do like the brown on the gear up here. I do think that also varying it with the black is nice, because you don't just have one alternate color. But it's all neutral, so it doesn't, you don't have any like bright pops of green or orange or something like that to throw you off. I think everything still looks pretty realistic.
Well, and the original Snow Job had like really dark brown web gear. So I mean, this is not, it's just a little different approach to doing it. Yeah, he looks great. I love that he comes with the snowshoes and the skis. And as you can see in this image, all that gear stows on his backpack.
Yep. Yeah, except for the head. You've got to figure.
Yeah, the extra head you got to figure out. But that's forgivable.
Oh yeah. I said if there's another part that I can forgive, it's going to be an extra head, because there's not any way that you can store that unless you just give him a giant backpack, and then it's just weird because he's carrying his own head around.
And then we've got another little sneak peek teaser. Look at those Arctic bats in the background with completely new web gear on their lower bodies. Blue visors look great. I am very excited to see these things.
Also, an interesting choice to see Snow Job surrendering in one of the pictures that they chose.
Well,
they're just making it look like he is.
Yeah.
Well, and what's funny about the Snow Job portrait is in the render, I said I thought he looked like Zach Galifianakis, which was, in the Ballad of G.I. Joe. Now I think he looks like the Robert Redford nodding gif.
Yeah, he does look a little Redfordish. He's definitely got the hair.
So yeah, Snow Job must have, comes with tons of stuff, looks great, awesome update, and very much an update. He is, yes, he's recognizable as Snow Job, but he is one of the more extreme, like staying true but modernizing updates. All right, Noel, it's your boy.
Everything I could ever imagine and more. We got Scrap Iron, and I mean, obviously we saw the renders, we knew what we were getting with him, but they really just knocked it out of the park with this when we really get to see that detail up close. Lenny mentioned that the original vest was a little bit cartoonish, so so this is a character that I costume, and so it's very, very near and dear to my heart. But when I did this costume, I actually found a training tactical vest. So I was able to find a red Molly ready vest that looks almost identical to this one. So I'm very excited that that the classified figure actually matches a lot what I actually wear. So they did that. The colors are like just perfectly muted enough. They're not like too bright, but you still get the look of the original figure with the blue and that maroon red. And I mean, let's just talk about that drone.
Well, real quick, before we get to the drone, Kristian, what are our call outs on this package?
So this one I did not find.
I did see somebody point this out. I need to go back and find that, but it should be a school bus loaded with bats.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But the angle and everything is just too close, and the way those taillights are, that it can't not be an homage to that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, look at this guy. So let's talk about that drone.
Yeah. So of course they expanded upon the original rocket launcher that Scrap Iron came with by giving it these treads, which they did mention before we knew they were, but they are independent. But what's cool about them is that the two sets of treads, they move up and down, so it can go over rougher surfaces.
Yeah, they are articulated.
Yeah. It's a very nice homage to the original rocket launcher as far as the shape of it goes, but they made it look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more modern with it, where it kind of like flares out towards the back. And the blast effects said, I'm not huge on adding blast effects, but this is one where it absolutely makes sense. And especially when they showed not only the blast effects for this work with these rockets, but you can also interchange them with a figure we already looked at earlier with Bazooka, where you can actually put the blast effects for these rockets onto Bazooka's rocket launcher as well.
Yeah, I've got a picture. Well, I thought I had saved a picture of that. Maybe I hadn't.
Yeah, but they demonstrated, obviously Bazooka's doesn't quite have the girth of this drone.
Yeah, he kind of does a little bit of a droop, but for your figure photographers, you can figure that out.
But and that's probably what I'll wind up doing with this is I'll probably display one of those. I'll probably display the shorter one with Bazooka, because they use the longer one in the stream, and that made him tip over a little bit more. But with that shorter one, it might be a little more realistic, especially if he's on a stand. So yeah, I mean the detailing on the figure, everything is great. Obviously the original one had red boots, and I think what they did with this, where he's got the black boots but just a little bit of red detail on him, is really nice, and it doesn't make him just look clownish. The bands around his legs, I think, being separate pieces where they're not just molded directly to the legs is nice. I mean, A+, and we're seeing Scrap Iron without his helmet. And
that portrait is, I love the hairstyle they've given him. He looks kind of like the younger Jim Gordon that was in the Batman comics with the Bat robot when Jim Gordon was Batman for a while. But then you've got the scarification.
Yeah.
And that closed eye, like so much character there.
Yeah. I mean, I always loved, because they didn't really play it up too much in the original 84 figure, but he's got a little bit of a scar, and then later releases they made that a little bit prolific. When I do the costume, I always put a little prosthetic scar on it. But I mean, this is unbelievable when they took that off, and you can see all that texture on that scarring on the side of his head. It's like, man, that's a little grotesque, but I love it.
And looking at the drone, look at those 3 lenses on the front of the drone, like how glossy those are and how much they stand out. Just little details like that. Because if you remember, when we first talked about this after they showed the render, my speculation was that the drone would basically be like 2 pieces. Like, I did not expect articulated treads and all of this is amazing. All right, we got to move on because we are definitely going way over. Our Cobra Valkyries, our 2-pack of female Cobra troops. Once again, the new box style. Kristian, it's very obvious in the background there. What are we looking at?
Yeah. Nope. I didn't find this one either, though.
Oh, this is
I'm
Junkyard from Cobra's Creatures.
okay.
When Cobra was using mind control on all the animals.
Okay. Yeah, I just had all the basic figs.
Yeah, this is in the back there, Junkyard with the glowing blue eyes when they capture him and turn him against Mutt, and he chases him all through the swamp.
Okay.
Weird deep cut for unassociated characters, but works really well. So these Valkyries come with extra accessories versus what a regular release would have. So you really have lots of different looks you can create here. You have an officer helmet, but not necessarily an officer look. I think down the line, we might still get a single carded female officer with the silver Cobra emblem. I am okay with one of these not being specifically an officer, though, because I don't like that. I don't like a 1-to-1 ratio of officer and trooper. So I like the way that they've done this. You've got one with the khaki web gear, one with the black web gear. I'm okay with the khaki web gear. I don't care for the khaki weapons. How do you guys feel about those?
I'm not good with either of the khaki. I don't.
Oh, really?
It looks cheap. I can't say why it looks cheap to me. It just looks cheap.
I like the khaki web gear because it does go back to the Air Trooper figure they released years back, and they put the mask on that kind of emulates that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the weapons are a little silly. I don't think that was a good idea.
But fortunately, if you bought the Viper 3-pack, you've got enough extra weapons to not use these khaki ones. But yeah, I wish they had just done them in black, or even if they had to do a different color, maybe make the web gear and the weapons gray. But I still ordered 2 of these because I can get 4 looks out of this set, and I want it. It's worth it to me because this is just cool. And if you notice, one of the figures has light skin and blue eyes, and the other one has dark skin and brown eyes. So they varied that up as well. And that brings us to the end of our reveals and the end, very close to the end of our show. What was the standout to you guys? As much as I love Firefly, for me, that Scrap Iron is the show stealer.
Would you expect me to say anything other than Scrap Iron?
No, of course. Course.
I mean, it's a tie between Rock and Roll and Shipwreck.
Yeah, I mean, they were all great, but that Scrap Iron just really blew me away.
Rock and Roll was the biggest surprise. Like I said, I when these went up on sale, I bought everything and 2 of the Valkyries, but I did not buy Rock and Roll. And then last night at like 12:30 a.m. watching that live stream, I was like, all right, Pulse, you got me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. What an incredible, and that's why I say sit back and enjoy what they do show you, and don't be too broken up about what they don't. And just real quick, I do not believe O-Ring is dead. I think there's something to come because Hasbro tells us when stuff is done. They don't always tell us when stuff is continuing or what our time frame might be, but when something is done, Hasbro lets you know. So no news is better than bad news. We do not have time for sound off, so we will save those for our next live stream. We do not have time for Joe and Tell, but we do have time to thank everybody so much for coming and hanging out with us, talking about G.I. Joe. Our music is by Andy Samford of electricminnowmusic.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Audible Interlude Podcast. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you want to hear about, ideas for the show, anything at all. That's the best way to interact with us. We're on Twitter at G.I. Joe Audible. Kristian, where can we find that toy photography that you do oh so well?
You can find me on Instagram under the name Legion Cub.
And Noel, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Finest?
The Finest is an international G.I. Joe costuming club, and we want you to help us raise money for a great cause called Canines for Warriors. So check out thefinestcc.com or the Finest Recruitment Center on Facebook if you ever thought about joining up.
Well, that is all we've got for this week. Noel, Kristian, thank you guys for sitting down and talking about something that we all love so much. As always, yo, Joe.
Cool.